Hi there. I haven't seen you in so long. How have you been? Yeah, I think last time that you visited us, we were situated in the different part of the city. So you haven't seen this new place yet. Well, if you've got time, I can show you around, show you some new stuff that we have. All right, that sounds nice. Let's go. So how have you been? So here is our nutrients section. Didn't you say something about needing nutrients for your tomatoes, right? Okay. I think I have just the right thing for you over here. This is produced by GHE, which is not the best thing, but I actually like this one. This is called Permabloom. It's for continuously producing plants, like tomatoes. And it has the NPK values of 1, 2, and 5. Oh, they are, the N stands for nitrogen, P stands for phosphorus, and K stands for potassium. Logical, I know. Yeah, it's actually, I think the original name is from Arabic, Kali, which means ash. So that's where the K comes from. And it's also actually potash in English too, so they are kind of in the same territory with the etymology. So anyways, this one? Okay. What else? Well, actually, one good thing for all plants is amino acids. Almost all plants. Amino acids are not always talked about, but your plants love them, and you know the difference when you use this. So I'll hook you up with the bottle. Just tell me if it works. And over here we have some more organic stuff, if you like the organics. This is one of my favorite brands, BioBiz. They use all kind of sugar roots, beet roots, this type of stuff to create their nutrients. And that is also the reason why they smell a little bit more than the others. And consistency in most of them is a bit more like molasses than liquid, watery. But they do their job fine, just fine. And if you're using soil, then I would suggest you to take these ones. So when your flowers start to bloom, this PK1314 is the secret ingredient to really activate the blooming phase. It's got a mighty amount of potassium and phosphorus, which are the key ingredients in the bloom phase. Nitrogen is mostly used in the vegetative growth, meaning that the plant grows up and then in the blooming it produces those fruits and flowers, what have you, and those need more phosphorus and potassium. Oh yeah, I gotta show you this. You've heard that the climate change is happening because of the CO2 levels rising in the atmosphere. Well, look what we have here. You can buy more CO2 because there isn't enough in the atmosphere. Well, even though that's a joke, it's actually a fact that plants love this stuff. And even if there is so much CO2 in the atmosphere that humans start to feel sick, the plants will thrive and thrive more and more the more CO2 there is. So it's like silver linings in everything, right? Well, usually people put those in tents if they're growing indoors. And indoors you can't get that much carbon dioxide. But if you don't want to be there breathing for your plants, then that's a good option B. You saw those posters? Yeah, this is a pretty good deficiency chart about different types of deficiencies of plants. So, if you have, for example, yellowy leaves, it could be that it's a lack of iron in your plant. And then when you start to get those dots, there could be too much potassium in your plant or in your reservoir. From my experience of growing, I think the most common deficiencies are calcium and magnesium. And you can usually see those deficiencies if they start to get this type of dots in them, or bigger ones if it's a lack of calcium. If you ever decide to take cuttings of your plants for faster root stimulation, I have this thing, Clonex. This is a mighty fine product, and I believe the active ingredient in this is sour butter or something like that. I think that's the German name for it, but I'm not sure if it's that in English. But this works wonders with plants. If you use your scalpel and make a diagonal cut to your plant, then you dip this purple liquid into the plant, and then you plant it, and in no time you have a nice root culture in your soil. And if you want to use something instead of regular pots, we have these fabric pots, which are pretty good for your plants because the roots actually need some air too. And in a plastic pot, especially without any holes in the bottom, they will die in no time, at least a lot of the plants. So what this fabric does, it gives the plant more air through the sides and from the bottom, and it also lets the roots to come through this fabric, and they will be way more lively than in your regular plastic pot. Okay, here we have the fun section. Let me show you this. Do you want some sunscreen? It's LSF 30. Just your regular sunscreen bottle, right? Well, if you take a look at the bottom, it goes off. And it's actually a stash. Stash for what? Well, you decide what you want to bring to the beach with you without anyone knowing. And here we have a pretty good lighter. My father loves this because it's actually pretty sturdy and it lasts for long. And if you are in need of a long flame, then you can get it with this. This is great for lighting up a fireplace or what have you, and if you're outside in the wind. So you're interested in vaporizing? Alright, well, vaporizing I think is the way of the future, because if you use joints or regular cigarettes, bongs or what have you, you get so much tar intake that it's very unhealthy for you, and any considerable health benefits have already gone. But with the vaporizing, you get a lot more healthy smoke in you with no tar intake or other carcinogens. So let me show you what we have. If you want something small to go with you, we have these cheap things. It's a bit plasticky, but it works, it does the job. Another cheap to go. These are both under $100, so it's not that big an investment anymore. Here, Volcano. This is the cream of the crop, crème de la crème, the Mercedes of vaporizers. And this particular edition is gold coated. If you're looking for a slightly more advanced mobile vaporizer, I believe this one is manufactured in the United States. So this one is called PAX, and it's very cool, very slim, has a nice little haptic feedback in it. And for example, if you shake it like this, it tells you how much battery you have left. If you put your mouth here, it knows that your mouth is here, and it starts producing the vaporizing fumes and give it to you in a nice compact way. So this vaporizer works with the convection. So you wanted some incense sticks too. Well, luckily for you, we have quite a lot of incense right now. So one of my favorites is this one, Devotion. It smells a little bit like lavender to me, a little bit more on the feminine side. Same as this Bliss one. They are not as smoky or... Let me see, where is my actual favorite incense? Is it here? All right, here we go. Nak Champa, the one and only. So fresh. If you want my honest opinion, I would maybe use essential oils instead of these incense sticks. And even with essential oils, it's better to be wary than to try to use them all at once, especially if you have dogs in your apartment. Because the dogs can't really intake essential oils. They don't have those receptors in their body. Humans do, but still essential oils are mostly for the experience, and they could also have some drawbacks to your health if you don't really know what you're doing, or you're using too much, or you're using something that's not good for you, personally. But the problem with the incense sticks is that it's still burning, so it's actual smoke that comes out of it. And smoke is never good indoors. Not good for you, not good for the walls or the neighbors. But if you want to smoke indoors, and you don't want your neighbors to know, or you don't want to annoy your neighbors, which is a better way to put it, I think, this is your favorite buddy. The smoke buddy. So what's inside here? Well, there's actually activated charcoal, a layer of it. So when you have smoke in your lungs, then you blow it through this. The smoke dissipates, and so does the odors. And there's no odors, no visible smoke left. It works like magic, at least for a month. If you want to use it for more than a month, of active use. It's better to put it in an oven for like 50 degrees Celsius for half an hour, and that will activate or reactivate the charcoal inside. Oh yeah, and one more thing I wanted to show you here. I remember you having one of these shishas, right? Well, if you are not a fan of those tobaccos anymore, the flavored tobaccos, we have a nicotine-free option for you from Shiaso. And they are kind of like volcanic mineral stones that are in this type of liquid. And the liquid holds a ton of flavor in it. So what you do is that you put these stones instead of the tobacco in the shisha, and when you burn it, it produces plenty of vapor for your lungs, a lot of flavors, but none of that bad stuff. So over here we have LEDs. We have all the way from 100-watt LEDs to 1000 watts. And they get a little bit expensive, but they really pay their money back in like a few years. You're paying less and less in the electricity bills, and your plants really like the LED lights because the new third generation Samsung LEDs are super good. The plants usually grow a little bit shorter but more bushier under the LEDs. You can still use CFLs, for example, but CFLs are getting out of the market and they are harder and harder to come by. And over here we have your regular grow lights, which are usually the SPNs or MH. Oh yeah, and what I meant by SPN is actually HPS. The SPN comes from Finland, suurpaine natrium, but in English it's high pressure sodium lights. And they look like this. And high pressure sodium is the other option. The other one is called metal halide. They are a little bit more girthy. And if you look at the color spectrum, this one has a little bit more spectrum on the blue side. So this means that the plants will like this metal halide lamp more on the vegetative period, as the plants usually want to intake more blue light during that time. Okay, so yeah, plants usually want red light and blue light, and they do nothing with green light. So blue light is good for vegetative growth and red light is good for the blooming. And you can also figure that out through intuition. For example, like the fall time is more red in color, and the color of the sun is also more orange in the fall time. So that usually tells the plants to start to flower and produce their fruits, for example. And the blue light is more the type of light that you get during the springtime, which usually tells the plants to start growing upwards. Yeah, I know. Plants are pretty ingenious. Come here and I'll show you something interesting. Guano. Guano galone in different form. And if you're unfamiliar with what guano is, you can maybe remember it from Ace Ventura. It's bat poo. And what's so special in guano is that the bats are living in caves. And caves are filled with phosphorus. But the bodies of bats, they don't really digest the phosphorus. So instead, their poo is filled with it. It's like most of it is phosphorus. So that's why it's actually one of the best organic nutrients out there. And what you do is that you take this powder and you sprinkle it on your soil, and you can just let it sit there, and it starts to work in like 1 or 2 weeks. And it's good to put there, for example, before the blooming period starts, because in blooming phase the plants really need that phosphorus, extra phosphorus. And what better way to get it from than from the butt of a bat. Hey, it was so nice to meet you again. I hope that the next time that we meet will be a little bit sooner than now. In any way, I hope you have a nice rest of your day, and I will have a nice rest of my work day here too. And we'll maybe call each other later in the evening and meet up or something. That'd be really nice. All right. See you. Good night.